Hello everyone, this is Professor Kent. Today we are going to do module 12. Module 12 is accounts payable. In other words, accounts payables are your vendors. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the opening balances, and we're going to do some transactions in our vendors in our accounts payable. So what you're going to do is the first thing you're going to do is you're going to load a database from lesson 11. So lesson 11 needs to be loaded in order to work with the lesson 12. So I already loaded it. You know how to load the database now because we are already more than halfway of the course. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to create an invoice batch, which is called an opening batch in accounts payable. So in order for you to do that, you can expand your accounts payable, and we're going to go to the invoice batch list. And it's just similar to what we learned in the GL. We're going to be opening, in other words, we are going to be opening the batches. So in this case, we have a lot of things here. We have an invoice batch, and then we have a invoice entry. We have a payment batch list, payment entry. So if you're doing one entry, you could do it in invoice, and if it's an invoice, you could do it in invoice entry. If it's a payment, you could do it in the payment entry. But if you're doing more than one entries, then you do it in the invoice batch. So we're going to double click it, and then what we're going to do is, in this case, these are the batches that we needed to do. At the bottom, in this one, we don't have plus, but we have a new. So what we're going to do is we're creating a new batch. So that's, sorry. So don't do it too many times. In this case, if you do it too many times, again, once you do it, then the plus button comes here. So what you're going to do is now we are going to call this batch as an opening batch. So if you are in batch, it will look like batch number 1. This is our first one. The entry is 1, and this is the date. So in this case, this is the session date we have. So again, when you're doing these entries, we wanted to do this in the last year. In this case, we have to do it in the last year because we wanted to post everything in the last year. So let's go here. Now when you do this, when you're doing this, sorry. So what you want to do here is you wanted a quick mode of your general of this batch. So how do you change it to the quick mode? You could change it to quick mode. In this case, this screen will come up. So in other words, sometimes what we're doing is quick mode is you wanted the information to be repeated in each line. So this is what it is already turned off because we don't want to select it. If, in other words, these fields comes automatically if I do the quick mode entries, I can enter the description, the vendor number, and these things. So if I wanted to do something quick, I always wanted to do it in a quick mode. But in our case, we're not doing a quick mode because we have a different account number, or maybe we could have a different vendor. So we don't want to do the quick mode. In this case, what will be our description of our batch? It will be our opening balances. And then when we do that, this is our batch entry, and this is the default date. This is our session date. What we wanted to do it, since we're entering the opening balance, it will be the first day that we are doing this transaction. So in this case, this is the first day you're doing the transaction. So in this case, when you're doing it under the document, there's different documents. We have an entry, vendor, enter the vendor number. These are some of the things. So what we're going to do is, when you do our first entry, we're going to go to exercise 12.1, and what we're going to do is in 12.1 we're going to put the name of the person. So right beside it, we have to, who are we doing it for? In this case, we have our first vendor, which is your Carmden tool and die opening balance. and then vendor. So now we already selected it, we already created the vendor, so we're going to select the right vendor. In this case, since we're doing an opening balance for Carmaden tool and die, you could look it up and see which one is it. In this case, we already know the vendor is that. Once we select it, everything becomes active. So you have to select the vendor to the window, invoice window, to be active. So when you're doing it, remit to location, you're going to go find it. In this case, it's the first one, and we're going to go to select. So this is where the main office is. Now we have is we have two type of in this case, the account set is Canadian. This is a Canadian currency. This vendor is Canadian, so we leave that alone. And then click on when you click on the invoice, there's a different, we could do an invoice, debit memo, credit memo, or what we wanted to do is, in this case, what we are doing is we're going to be doing an invoice for this time. Now when you go to the date, in this case, our date will be, it's an opening balance. What we're going to do is we are going to select the date that was the invoice date, and that's when you do it, tab it automatically. You want to accept. Okay, so it automatically. So if you look at it, the system is smart, saying that, are you sure you want to do this? And yes, we are sure we wanted to do that. Now if you look at it, it automatically came with our last year. So opening balance will always be done at the ending of last year. So then we're going to go to our document number. Document number is your invoice number. In this case, 3658 is my invoice number, but we don't have any PO number. We don't have any PO number. We don't have anything else. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go to the, if you have a purchase number, you could put it in the purchase number. In this case, we do have a purchase number. 8005 is your purchase number. And then we're going to tab to the order number. Order number, we're going to leave it blank. And then what we're going to do is default to your document total. In this case, the total of your invoice. In this case, we wanted to do 1605. That's what the document total is, 1605. Now, if you look at it at the bottom, it comes back with the it came back with an undistributed amount. Why does it come with the undistributed amount? What we needed to do is we needed to know where to charge that. So that's what you want to do, where you want to charge it. Now what we're going to do is, this is the line. So in this case, if it doesn't come, you're going to do an insert button. And then what you're going to do is you're going to enter the amount 1605. So if you do a 1605, and then once you have that 1605, it still comes back with the undistributed amount. The reason why is it come back with that, because we haven't applied the taxes. So if I go to my next one, so in this case, when you're on the first one, the system automatically know there should be taxes on that. So that's why we have to do it on the tax amount. So it is important, if it doesn't come back with it, you could use the insert button. In other words, what we wanted to do is we are going to go to the tax amount. In this case, there's a tax amount that we needed to adjust for that. In this case, if you look at the tax base is 1605, the tax amount is that. If I under the tax amount, if you look at it, in this case, there's quite a few things at the top. We have a group. Where is this group? This group is this Ontario? Which one is it? Depending on where your vendor is from. So in this case, you calculate, and when you calculate it, in this case, you want the system to calculate it, or you want to distribute it. So these are some of the things that comes up with it. If I were to if I could do it manually, if I enter it, I could do it manually. I can get the system to calculate it, or I wanted to distribute the amount. So depending on what you have given in the question, in this case, it is a calculated amount. What we already calculated is a calculated amount. And what we wanted to do is this is the tax amount is allotting it to. what happens is that this is a last year's invoice. If it's a last year invoice, what we have is we have a tax already calculated. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an enter, and whatever you do here, it automatically does it on the other side. So in this case, what we wanted to do is we wanted to do enter, and then we wanted to do is we wanted to remove this tax amount. So you have to go to this and then remove it. How you remove it, you could do a delete, or you could type 0 0 in order to do that. And then what we're going to do is, now if you were to do it, if you could calculate the tax or you could distribute the tax. We wanted to distribute the taxes. So in other words, we have, when you distribute, it's 0 0. So that's what so it's a 0 0. So you could calculate it. If you don't want to, in other words, we don't want to calculate it, we want to distribute it. Now if you look at it, calculate is done on the base amount. So I wanted to keep it the same, just to show you how it works. In this case, we wanted to distribute it. So in this case, if you distribute it, you tell the computer what you want to do. And the next one, we have terms. The term is that if you pay within 10 days, you get 2% discount. This is how this vendor is set up when you're doing it. What we're going to do is we're going to leave it the way it is. In this case, the optional field, we don't have any. If you wanted to optional field, it has to be entered into our, if you look at it, there's nothing is going to come up because we haven't set it up. And then for Omni, we're not setting up. If you were in the real life, we might need it to be setting it up. So in this case, accept the default. In other words, whatever it is, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to go to the next one. We are going to go to our total. Our total is, if you look at it, the amount is net payable amount is 1572, and what we have is we have taxes, which is 0 0, and then we have an undistributed amount. In this case, what we wanted to do is we wanted to clear that. And how we're going to clear that, we're going to show you how to clear that undistributed amount, because we want it to be cleared. So we wanted they both to be same. The net payable and the document amount should both be same. Otherwise, if they're not same, we're going to get error message. So what we did is we made it to be 0, because there's no taxes on the opening balances. So now, even though we changed it, the amount is still showing as 208. And if you look at it, our entry isn't balanced. When you go to your totals, our entry isn't balanced. It's coming up with a 208.65. The reason is for that is, once you enter the tax amount, what you have to do is you click the distribute tax amount. You have to click this button. If I now go to my tax, my entry is balanced, because what they're looking for is they're looking your invoice total was 1605, and if you pay within 10 days, we are going to get 2% discount, and the amount is 1572.90. You wanted to make sure that everything balanced, because you should not have any undistributed amount here. If you do have an undistributed amount, you're going to get an error message. When you get an error message, what happens is that you're going to get an error message, and you're going to have a lot of batches with error messages. So what we're going to do is, now we did what we needed to do. I'm going to add it. So I have done the first entry. Now I have to add the second entry. My second entry is also an opening balance. It's an entry number 2. The description of the entry is, who are we entering the balance for? In this case, we're entering for the Office Depot, and we're entering their opening balances. Again, who is this? You could look it up. You could add a new one. In this case, we already have it. It is 1020, and then you're gonna the document remit to location. If there is, you're gonna find it. It will be here. But if it was only for one person, if you remember from our previous session. we're going to leave that blank. In this case, it is an invoice, and the invoice is an invoice. You could have a debit memo, credit memo, interest. In this case, it's an invoice. And what is the date? Again, the date is, we are using the 2021, so the date will be 2021, and it will be the December last year. So in this case, it will be, we're doing it for the last year. In your case, you will be doing it for 2020. So December 16 is your date. You tab it over, and then once you tab it over, it's going to be posted last year's. And the invoice number is your 8525. That's my invoice number. PO number isn't given. Document order number isn't given either. The document total, so they told us the document total is 646.30. That's the invoice. We are going to tab it over. Now if you look at it, when you tab it over, we know this is the distribution code. In this case, we have a distribution code, which is Office 100. So in this case, we have an office people. In this case, it should be you could I'm going to show you one more time. This is the distribution set. It normally will be used for your telephone expenses or other expenses. In this case, your distribution code here is automatically comes up, and we are in Ontario. That's the tax group we are going to be paying. So that's the tax group we are going to be paying. So if I were to look at it, what tax group I am, this is where I can change it. I can look it up. I can change it into other ones too. So if you're setting a new one, you will have to do that on your own. So the HST will be, in this case, we are going to do it enter, and then you automatically does it. And then in this case, once you do that, for the first one, we already entered the amount. We have a distributed amount, and then what we have to do is, before we get there, we needed to change this before we get to the next one. 646.30. So in this case, it is going to calculate the taxes. Now I'm going to go there. We will have once you could make it a 0. In this case, there is no taxes because we're not entering any HSTs, and you have to calculate on the before I go there. In other words, you have to make it to, now if you look at it, if you calculate the amount comes in here, you have to make it 0, and then you have to click the distribute button in order to for the system to select it. So I'm just going to go to the total to see if everything balances. Yes, we don't have any undistributed amount. I'm going to add it. Now I'm going to do my next entry. My next entry is an opening balance for there was another invoice for the same person that we did before, and same vendor. In this case, this is the Cameron. I know that that's the opening balance. So in this case, what are we doing? We are entering another invoice. In other words, we are entering another invoice. We are going to click on the invoice. We're going to change the date. It automatically picks up the other one that we have. So we're going to change it to 16, and we are going to, yes. And this document number, so before I go here, I could show you one more thing. I'm going to close this, and you want to save the entry. No, if I were to go in here, we already did 2 entries. Now in this case, if you look at it, when we pick up the Cameron, we already did 1 invoice. You could also do here, not there on the entry, you could add a new one. It automatically will come back with the person that you originally had. In this case, we are doing a new one, new invoice for this person. Now we're going to find the person, the vendor. That's the vendor, and remit to. We know who are we remitting to. If you look at it here, we do have a 1 for this person, for this vendor. The date is our 16. We are going to pause it, and this does not within the acceptable range. Okay, we're still going to do it because system is asking you, are you sure you want to do this? So in this case, we have our document number is your 3652, no, 3692. We're going to enter that, tab it over. There's no PO number, and they said the document total is $20,062.50. And then what we're going to do is distribution code. This is where we're allowed to change it, and we wanted to change it according to what is given to us. It should be manufacturing. We select it. So now, and then what you have to it, next you have to go to, to the tax group. In this case, the tax group, what you wanted to do is the tax group is Ontario. Here we're going to do it enter because we wanted to enter it, and HST should be 0. And if I were to go into totals, if you look at it, see we have an undistributed amount, so you have to go back here. Once you're here, you have to click on the distribute tax, and if I go to my tax, it should automatically, I have to kind of make it that it becomes like that. So I have to select on that. Then you're going to go to the terms. If you pay within 10 days, you're going to get 2% discount. In this case, the system is saying that discount date apply only till the 26th. So if you look at it, maybe I entered the date wrong. So let's go back. I am going to go back, and I'm going to look at the date. In this case, there shouldn't be any discounts because 10 days are already gone. I thought maybe I entered the wrong date here. In this case, there is no amount. We're going to go to optional field. Optional field, if nothing comes up in the finder, we leave it blank. And now if you look at it, it is coming out with the undistributed amount. So why is it doing that? Because I did not enter any amount here, so we have to individually enter it. This is the total of the invoice, and this is where we wanted to put it. In this case, 20062.50. So that's the number. So if I go back again to the taxes, I'm going to do a distribute. I'm going to go to the total. Everything is clear. There's a discount, and I'm going to add it. So now we add it. You could do it, close it here. Now I'm going to go back, and what we're going to do is we're going to do the third entry again. If you're doing an entry, you're going to do a new, and that'll be our fourth entry. Our fourth entry is for Maynard Insurance opening balance, and that's the balance. And the vendor is, they're telling us it is 1040. You can look it up. If it's not there, we might need to enter the balance. So then in this case, we have a document date. Again, you're doing a year before. In this case, you pick the date that you are given. So in this case, the document number is your invoice 93558. That's the invoice number. Leaving the blank, in this case is 899.25. that's including the taxes. We change it to 899.25, and what we're going to do is, in this case, they said it's NS code is that, and distribution now we have, for some reason they gave us 2 times, they said the same amount, the same things. In this case, the amount, oh no, I'm reading it. Oh no, in this case the total amount is that. So for the first account is NS 100, and the amount that we wanted to put it to 856. So in this case 856 is the first one, and then we needed to go to the next one. If it doesn't go to the next one, again you needed to do the insert button. So you go to the next one. In this case, our next one is your NS 200. That's the insurance expense for our machinery department, and we are going to put 1043.25. So we're entering, in this case we have two, for this invoice there's two uh, two 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 insurance two insurance expense, one for the electric division, one for the machinery division. Then what we're going to go to our we're going to go to our taxes. Our taxes is BC. We're going to do enter. When you do enter, if you look at it, you have to, there's no taxes for the opening balances. Once you make them zero, and then you have to calculate on the distribute amount to be selected. So I'm going to go to terms. Terms are whatever was given to us for the setup was. The part here is they're doing installments. We're going to go to the total. We wanted to make sure they both balance, so that's our fourth entry. I wanted to come to this page because I'm going to add it. Once you add it, it goes to the fifth one. So next one is your next vendor, which is your West Metal Products. And who is this vendor? We're going to look it up. Where we're going to look it up, it's going to be where West Metal. So it's 2020 is your when the vendor in this case. And then what is the date? The date will be the last year because we're entering the opening balance, and it's on the 28th. Yes. And then we're going to go here. Our document number is the invoice number. In this case it is Z55268. That's the number. So we're gonna go to further down. Our document total, they told us is 23,026.40. When you tab it, it automatically comes. In this case, this is an Alberta company, and first what we're going to do is we are going to put it in the amount, and that amount is 23026.40. So we're going to go here, automatically calculate the taxes. So what we have to do is we are going to go to our next one, which is going to be taxes. It's Alberta, and then we are going to go to the tax here. We're going to make it 0 first. Oh, sorry. First we enter, and then we're going to go here. It'll be 0. And then what we're going to do is distribute it. I go to my total, it balances. So I am done what we needed to do. If you go to the terms, it's 210. Anyway, I want to go to the first page because I want to add another one. So we're going to go to the sixth one, and sixth one is for Kingsway Transit. And the vendor, we're going to look it up, which one is the Kingsway. We have these vendors, it's already there. And once you do that, it comes with the invoice number. The invoice number is for last year, and it is for the 29th. So in other words, the document number will be the invoice number. In this case, it'll be 71235.801. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to your document total. What is my document total? They told us is 9760.55, and that becomes our undistributed one. What we want to do is clear it everything. In this case, when we're doing it, if you are here, everything comes up. In this case, we don't have a distribution code for this. It comes out a blank. So now what I wanted to do is I wanted to go to the taxes. It's Alberta, we know that. We're going to do enter, and then what we're going to do is we're going to tab it, and I don't think I did my document total here because I did not do the amount 9760.55, so I didn't do that. So I'm going to go back to the taxes. I have to do it. When you come in here, it is calculate, and then automatically calculates it, make it to 0. Sorry, it automatic enters, then make it this 0. Once you make it 0, you have a distribute amount that will be 0. So now what we did is we did 6 entries. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this one. There's no undistributed amount. What we're going to do is we are going to add, and we have done 6 entries to we are done 6 entries now. So that's what this we have done step 46 on your book. Now we wanted to know if we have the right total. If you look at it, in order to see what this is the zoom button, so I'm going to click on that. I have 6 entries. The total amount is 57,000. So that's what we want. So that's what we want. So in this case, now we have to do is we have to add some more vendors. So in this case we are going to be adding it, and then in order for us to do that, we are going to do some and first one we did it. In this case, if you look at it, if you are going into step number 47, so what we're going to do is we're going to do step 47, and what we want to do is we wanted to create another batch. In other words, we are creating another batch, and that will be your batch number 2. So in this case, we're going to close it, and we wanted to do is we wanted to add another one. So in this case, I am going to do a batch 2. Our batch 2 will be, in other words, now what we did is now we are going to be entered these invoices for the new year. So we're going to do it for the new year. So if you look at it, the date will be for the new year's. So these are some of the invoices for the current year. So what we're going to do is we're doing it for the current year. So and what we're going to, it says January 2021 vendor invoices. So the batch date, we want it to be 31st 2021. This is our first entry. The first entry is for the office depot. These are for all Ontario ones, and let's do that. Our vendor number, let's do vendor number is the office depot. Select it. So we have some invoices that was for the last year, some invoices are for the beginning of this year. So in this case, our document date will be January 8th of 2021, and if you look at it, we didn't get an error message because these are for this year, this current year, even though it's an opening balance. But what we're doing is these are the opening balance, opening invoices for the month of January. That's what we're going to do. In this case, our document total is your 277.98, and what you're going to do is the amount will be 277.98. So that's the invoice. And then what we're going to do is, again, it's an undistributed amount. You're going to go to the taxes, and you're going to do it, you're going to change it to the enter. Once you do the enter, now what we're going to do, once you do and enter, you change the invoice, the tax amount to be 0, and then click on the distribute amount. You go to the total issued balance. I'm going to go to the first page because this is my batch entry 1. So this is my entry number 1. So we are going to add it, and it's going to go to our next one. Our next one is for the same person, so the same vendor, so the office. And then vendor, we're going to look for that vendor. It's 1020, and it is an invoice. The type is an invoice. What date is it? It's this year, but it's on the 9th. We are going to do that. Tab it. You have to tab it over to accept it, otherwise it's not going to accept it. In this case, we have a document number, which is your invoice number 9158 we're going to go to your document total. Document total is 100.57. You go here and we are going to add it to the amount. The amount will be 100.57. And if you, no, sorry, 0.57. So that's the amount. I'm going to go to the taxes. You could kind of do it fast now because we have done so many of them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to change the tax amount to 0. And then what we're going to do is click on the distribute amount. It should be balanced, and I'm going to go to the first one, and we're going to add it. We're going to enter the add third one. Let's do that. Select the Maynard, the invoice, the date for this invoice is 15. So go to the calendar, select the 15, go, and then your invoice number is your I97622. That's my number. The total is 237.50, and we are gonna do the amount here, 237.50. We're gonna go to the taxes. We're gonna do enter, and it is BC, we know that, and we're gonna distribute. Sorry, first you have to take the amount out, then you could distribute. You have to take both of them out, click on the distribute, go to the total, make sure you're not out. And what we're gonna do is, that's your third entry, you add it. We're gonna go to our fourth one, which is for your Bell Canada. And vendor, we're gonna pick up a Bell Canada. In this case, we are doing this date on the 21st. So let's do 21st. And the invoice number, they told us invoice number is 12123. And the amount is, document total is the total invoice 12. And we are going to tab it over. In this case, if you look at it, distribution code. Now, if in this case, it didn't come up automatically. So what we needed to do is we needed to enter it on the line. So if it doesn't go there, you are going to do insert button to go to the first line. And what we're going to do is we're going to click, and it is your telephone. So in this case, it's telephone 100. Let's select the telephone 100, and we tab it over. And then the amount we want is 140.12. And then we're going to go to your taxes. The amount automatically comes, and system calculates it. We're going to say enter, and then once you do an enter, you take the tax amount out, and we're going to, once you take it out, we're going to do distribute, go to the total, make sure it balances. Now what we have is we have 4 entries. We are going to go to here. We are going to I'm going to add it. Or what you could do is, if I haven't added that, so I have 3 entries. So in this case, I need to add it in order for the system to have 4 entries. So everything it is be the way it's shown on picture on the page 48. So we did is click close this, and we are going to close it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to close it. We are going to go back to our invoice batch. So in this case, we have 2 batches, batch 1 and batch 2. So in this case, we have 2 batches. So if you double click it, you will see it that we have the batches. So in other words, If I wanted to open this, in this case, I will highlight the batch. What I wanted to do is I wanted to print that. So of course, before you print it, you need to make this print destination to be preview before you do anything, and otherwise it's going to print. We want it to be printed at a as a preview, as a PDF. So I'm going to go here, highlight the first one. What we're going to do is, if you highlight it, and then what we're going to do is click on the print, and it's going to print, and it's an invoice. So we're going to say we wanted to print it before you could post it. So because that's what we have to do. So we're going to print it. I'm going to print it. It's going to I'm going to close this. You're going to go to the next one. You're going to print that one too, because, and then we say print. I won't print it because we don't need to print it. You have to print it. Once you have printed it, what we're going to do is you can also go into the report to the next page if you wanted to do it, depending on how many transactions we have. Now what we wanted to do is we wanted to post these two batches. You could do it individually, or you could do it each one. So let's do I'm just going to say print, just to show you how you can go to the next page. So I'm going to show you. It sometimes takes a little bit longer. So in this case, we only have a one. If there's a plus here, that means there's more than one pages to it. I'm going to close it. I'm going to close it. It has to be make it ready. So it's printed. What we wanted to do is we wanted to make it ready. So you have to enter into yes. And once you do that, you can post all of them, or you could post one at a time. So you could do one at a time. If you do it one at a time, you do the post button. If you wanted to do both of them, you could do both of them the way it is. So let's do the first one the way your book is showing. I'm going to select the first one, click on the you have to make it ready in order to be posted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post them. You could also post the printing the journals before you could post it. So it doesn't matter where you're doing it. You could do it, print all of them here or anywhere. So what we're going to do is we are going to post the batches, and in order to post it, when you click on the post, what it does is it's just, you could do it individually, or you could do it in one batch, and I'm just going to do it individually. So or you could done it post all too. So that's what we did. So now all the invoices are being posted. And what happens once we post the batches, in this case the batch is posted in the AP. Now if you come to your GL batches, so if you go to your GL, these same batches are going to come into the other side. So in other words, what we're going to do is we needed to delete the opening batches in the other one, because in other words, we needed to process them. How you process these batches is that we needed to track what we did. So in this case, we posted both of the batches. If I close them here, and if I go to my GL, and if I GL transaction, if you look at the batch, you should have those two batches. They are in here too. So if you look at it, these are the sub ledgers. When they have a sub ledgers, what happens is that the first sub ledger batch is for the 57,000. In other words, it's telling you the amounts here. So if you go to page number sorry, not page number, exercise 12.6, this is the transaction that comes up. So it's a highlight, and click on the open wedge to see a window. So I'm going to do it, click on open. So in this case, if I click on open, it tells me what I did. So in this case, what I did, it tells me what I did. These are the batches that came in from the sub-ledger accounts payable. So in other words, these are opening balances. If they're opening balances, we needed to delete them. So when you delete them, they're still going to be there, but we don't want to make a mistake by posting it. So I'm going to subledger, I'm going to delete it. It's asking you, are you sure you want to do that? Yes, I'm sure about that. So I will make it as a deleted. Then I go to my next one, highlighted. You can open what is in there to make sure it is the opening balance that we're deleting. So these are my opening balances we're deleting, and I'm going to close it. I'm going to come back and I'm going to delete that too. So once they're deleted, we cannot get it back. You cannot make undelete them. In other words, you cannot undelete them. So I'll say yes. So you have deleted it. Now what we're going to do is we wanted to close it, and the next part of the exercise is to show you the tax services. So we have a tax services. What we did is in the common services we have the tax services. So what does the tax services do? It does is we're just running a report on the tax services. That's what we're doing. We're running a tax report, and what we are going to do is, if there's a different type of it, in this case this is we have a report, and that is a tax track report. So what we're going to do is we wanted to know what to report for each of the years. So we could do it for different physical year. In this case, we can tell the computer, sorry, the system what to do. In this case, from to, you could do that, and we can print by the authority that it is. So how, if you were to look at it, which one, in this case, you could go to the finder. When you go to the finder, you could do which company you wanted to do it for. So in this case, if I go here, which do I want, the BC, PSD, GST, HST, and select. So you could select which one, and then in other words, what you could do is you could do sales and purchases. And this is what you're going to do is you're going to, once you select what you wanted to do, what you're going to do is it's going to print a report, and then what you're going to do is you could save it for your next save it, and you could do the next window. So this is where you could track the reports for different authorities. So if I were to print it, it's going to say it's going to print all of them. That's what it's going to do. If I click on print, it's going to do all of them. In other words, who are we reporting it to? In other words, we wouldn't have any for the 2021 because that's the new physical year. We don't have any for the new physical year, because we haven't done any invoices. The invoices are just for the opening balances, which is for the last year. So what we've done is we've done everything for the I'm going to record another one, another session. What we're going to do is with that session, what we wanted to do is we wanted to create new invoices by advancing our date to advancing our date to a new date. We are going to go into the month of February. So I'm going to stop this recording here, and I'm going to record the part B, where we're going to start with exercise 12.9, where we're going to show you how to change the session date. Thank you so much for listening, and keep watching my videos. If you have questions, send me an email, or you could write a message underneath the video. Don't forget to like it, or don't forget to make a comment. Thank you so much for listening to me.